right now on 5 on Your Side at 10.
Tonight, police say teens are packing firepower after shootings and car break-ins around 2 new St. Louis hotspots. And team coverage tonight as snow heads for the bi-state. Why road crews say this storm is different.
It's much different than what we encountered over the Christmas holidays.
We treat Wednesday. We're 24 hours from a winter storm swinging into the bi-state region, where the heaviest snow will fall and the impacts expected for the Wednesday morning rush hour.
We begin tonight with breaking news of another mass shooting, this one in Northern California. According to officials in San Mateo County, at least 7 people are dead. 1 person is critically injured. The shootings happened at 2 locations, a mushroom farm and a trucking company in Half Moon Bay. That's about 30 minutes south of San Francisco. Just about an hour ago, we learned that a 67-year-old man who lives in Half Moon Bay was arrested for the shootings and is in custody tonight. This is the second mass shooting in California in the last 3 days.
And back to our top local story. Tonight, we're getting you ready for what's looking like a big mess on the roads this week. Good evening. I'm Ann Allred.
And I'm Mike Bush. Laura Barczewski talked with road crews tonight. But let's start with Weather First Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell. He's analyzing the latest forecast models just in on the storm's track and snowfall amounts. Scott.
And Mike, not much has changed here in our forecast thinking, reasoning, and expectations for this storm. It is not going to be a huge storm for St. Louis, but it is going to be a problem, especially on Wednesday morning. The winter storm warning does include the metro area, then east into Illinois and west and southwest from St. Louis. Heaviest snow is likely to fall into the Ozarks here, where there might be more than 6 inches in some places, but probably not in the metro area. This is it. This is the storm developing right now out over Arizona and New Mexico. It's about 1,000 miles away, and it'll be here in the next 24 hours. As we go through the nighttime hours tonight, the storm gets larger, starts to grab more moisture out of the Gulf of Mexico, and then all of that rolls right up Highway 44 towards St. Louis. This time tomorrow night, we'll be looking at rain breaking out, which will eventually change pretty quickly to wet snow, and that's what we will be looking at heading into the wee hours before Wednesday daybreak and into the first few hours after the sun comes up on Wednesday. That's when the heaviest wet snow will fall. Travel troubles are expected, even though temperatures will be right around or just above freezing, and the Ozarks are going to be the areas that see the heaviest snow. We'll break down more on the timing and more specific forecast for you on the timing in just a few minutes, Mike.
All right, Scott. And tonight, road crews are gearing up for some busy days ahead.
The work has already begun. Laura Barczewski is live near Interstate 64 in St. Louis. And Laura, you were talking to me tonight about how crews are expecting this to be a different storm from what we saw about a month ago.
Yeah, Mike and Ann, crews tell me that this is going to be probably a very sloppy mess, and it could be hard to clear off the roads in return. So they have some tips for drivers who are going to be dealing with this slush. Joe Monroe with the Illinois Department of Transportation says they're gearing up to clean snow off 5,200 miles in the coming days.
Well, we'll be going through our trucks today. Primarily, that's our first, check on our checklist.
Monroe says they're also looking into pre-treating roads.
We're really looking forward to some additional data tomorrow morning to determine whether or not pre-treating, as now commonly known with the brine unit, would be the correct move.
He says they think this will be a very different storm than what we dealt with last month and should be able to use rock salt to help clear the roads.
We'll take anything over ice, anything at all. So while slush presents its own challenge, it is just that. So if you have a well-working plow and have a modest amount of chemical behind it, you can clear it pretty regularly as long as you don't get it to form up and pack.
Missouri State Highway Patrol Corporal Dallas Thompson says it's important to gas up your car, get some emergency items together, and take it slow if you have to drive.
And that slush can make your vehicle pull from one side to the other. So you may not have that packed snow or driving lanes. It may be some slushy snow that you're trying to drive on, and you hit one of them slushy spots and it's going to pull your vehicle. So keep your hands on the wheel, and that's where driving those safe speeds, driving slow enough for the conditions that you're on.
Due to continued short staffing issues for MoDOT, Thompson says it's best to stay off the roads for as long as possible.
More traffic on the roadways just means more congestion for them to have to deal with their plows. It's also going to be packing the snow down on the ground, on the roadways, which makes it a little harder to move off of the roadways.
Both agencies say that they didn't have as many issues last time because people stayed off the roads. That reduced the number of crashes and problems that the plow drivers ran into. So if you do have to drive, be sure not to crowd the plow. Reporting live in St. Louis, Laura Barcheski, 5 on your side.
And you can get the weather first forecast sent straight to your phone anytime. Just text the word weather to 314-425-5355. We'll send you that link.
Tonight, St. Louis police are investigating several weekend shootings. In one violent incident outside the city foundry, officers found 2 teens armed with high-powered guns. Our Robert Townsend is here now with new reaction from community leaders. Robert.
Mike, police say the 2 boys both had guns on them. They are just 15 and 16 years old, and that has definitely shocked some community activists.
I'm kind of baffled as to how did they get these guns? Where did they come from?
Those are the loaded questions members of Mothers Advocating Safe Streets and other St. Louis community leaders are asking. It's after police say car thieves targeted parking lots at the city foundry Saturday night. Police say a passenger leaned over the roof of a car and repeatedly fired off a rifle in the direction of 3 teen boys and 2 officers. What's more, police say a 15-year-old boy had a Glock 29 equipped with an auto sear on him. That made the gun fully automatic. Officers say they found a stolen Glock 19 on a 16-year-old.
There's nothing to kind of deter them from these guns or committing crimes.
Gail Watkins says city officials must be more proactive when it comes to tackling teen violence. She also thinks creating more positive programs for youth will help keep more kids out of trouble.
Let them know they matter. Some of them don't feel like nobody cares.
Police initially took both boys into custody, but a juvenile judge later ordered them to be released to their parents.
It just baffled me to put them back in the hands with their parents.
Illegal modifications like auto sears, Glock switches, and lightning links can convert semi-automatic weapons into fully automatic ones, meaning users can hold down the trigger and spray bullets, emptying a clip in seconds.
A dangerous situation, Mayor Tashara Jones says, is now a reality on the streets of St. Louis. She took her concerns to Washington, D.C. last week.
We've seen a 500% increase in these devices in the region in the last 3 years and are working with ATF to address the rise.
Now, no one was hurt when that gunfire rang out. Officials with the foundry released a statement saying, quote, safety is their #1 priority.
And Robert, the city foundry was just one of 2 local hotspots in Midtown dealing with crime this past weekend. On Friday night, several customers at Armory STL reported car break-ins. One victim caught the thief on dash cam. Tonight, the alderwoman for Midtown is calling for action.
We don't want to put citizens' lives in peril, and we need to do something because this has been something that has been continuing and has expanded.
Both the city foundry and the Armory sent those 5 on your side statements saying safety and security is the #1 priority.
Tonight, a man is dead after crashing an SUV while fleeing from police. The crash happened near Riverview and Chambers in North St. Louis. According to police, officers tried to stop that driver 3 miles away. Investigators say the driver sped off and ran at least 2 red lights on Chambers before crashing. His identity has not been released. Tonight, new information on the devastating fire at Bob Kramer's Marionettes Theater in the Central West End. Family and friends now tell 5 on your side the famed puppeteer died in Friday's fire.
Justina Cornell talked with those who knew Kramer about the impact he made on the community.
It's just such a St. Louis institution.
Debris is dumped all over, mixed with 5 decades of dedication. Monday morning, fire crews scour Bob Kramer's Marionettes.
It's irreplaceable.
Searching for clues behind the chaos. Friday night, a sudden fire swallowed up the home.
There are over thousands of puppets in that house that are just totally gone.
One person went to the hospital, and we've learned it was Doug Felch. Friends and family say it was his partner, Bob Kramer, who passed away.
Bob and Doug are they're a duo that goes hand in hand.
Going hand in hand.
It was just magic.
To use their hands to maneuver marionettes and form memories.
Bob Kramer's marionettes is unique. There's not a lot of cities that have this world-class, world-renowned marionette theater.
Chris Pyman at the Sheldon Concert Hall and Art Galleries knew the dynamic duo well.
Back in 2015, we did a beautiful art gallery exhibit of their marionettes. Through that process, we've stayed friends over the years.
Laura Cohen and Marianne Kreck did too.
Bob made the puppets. Doug was sort of the showman, life partners and artistic partners.
They share it's Bob and Doug's connection to each other that could be felt through the string puppets.
Thousands of people and, school children, families, enjoyed in the St. Louis areas.
Loved ones say they're reeling over the loss.
The loss of Bob and Bob Kramer's marionette studio are going to have an impact in St. Louis for a very long time.
But they can't help but also feel they've gained so much joy over time.
Just having the rich history and the beauty and all of what they offered to us and gave to us over the years, that I think is what is going to comfort me and everybody who knew them and worked with them and loved them.
Justina Cornell, 5 on your side.
He really was an artist. There is a GoFundMe set up for Kramer's life partner, and all the money raised will go directly to Doug. If you'd like to donate, you can go to the As Seen on TV section at KSDK.com.
It's a potentially deadly illness affecting millions of Americans every year.
It just really kind of knocks you out.
And it's caused by something you ate. The new rules being set into motion to keep your food safe. Tonight, reports of a new voice for Cardinals baseball. The familiar last name joining the broadcast booth, and where he went to high school in St. Louis.
Here's our storm, over 1,000 miles and about 24 hours away. A weather first timeline on when we change to snow and how long that snow lasts.
We want to update you on the breaking news happening. This is the second mass shooting in California in 3 days. At least 7 people are dead. 1 person is critically hurt. There were 2 separate shootings at a mushroom farm and a trucking company, both in Half Moon Bay, California. That's about 30 minutes south of San Francisco. A 67-year-old man is in custody tonight. Investigators believe he worked at one of the facilities. An 11th victim has died from Saturday's mass shooting attack at a Lunar New Year celebration in Monterey Park, California.
And in just the last few hours, investigators revealed the gunman fired 42 rounds during his rampage inside a dance hall in a predominantly Asian neighborhood of Los Angeles. And this new video tonight shows the suspect showing up at another dance hall 20 minutes later, where a man risked his life to fight off the gunman, who eventually walked away. That brave man says he thought he was going to die.
He started to try to prep his weapon so he could shoot everybody. But then it dawned on me that this was the moment to disarm him. I could do something here that could protect everybody and potentially save myself.
Amazingly, no one was hurt at that second location. The gunman was later found dead inside a parked van from a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Tomorrow, St. Louis City leaders will pause to remember the victims of the Monterey Park shooting. They'll be joined by leaders in the local Asian community to call for mental health equity. It will take place tomorrow at 12:30 in the rotunda of St. Louis City Hall. Millions of people get sick each year from contaminated food.
And finding the source of the contamination is not always easy. As Consumer Reports explains, there's a new plan aimed at reducing the number of foodborne illnesses and deaths. No matter how hard he tries, Elliot Weiler will never forget that time he had salmonella.
It just really kind of knocks you out in a way that, at least for me, had never happened before.
Every year, an estimated 48 million Americans get sick from bacteria and viruses in their food. Now the Food and Drug Administration is trying to reduce the number of illnesses with its food traceability rule, which covers foods through their entire supply chain.
This new record-keeping process is going to mean that everyone who touches the food, from the grower who grows it to the supermarket that sells it or the restaurant that serves it, is going to have to keep track of the food in the exact same way.
That means assigning a code to potentially riskier foods, those prone to contamination, such as soft cheeses eggs, leafy greens, nut butters, and tomatoes so they can be tracked more efficiently.
In some cases, this new rule may make it even easier for food to be identified as potentially harmful before it even hits the market and gets into the hands of consumers.
Meat and poultry aren't included since they're regulated by the USDA and not the FDA. CR says the new plan isn't perfect, but it's better than what's currently in place.
Right now, record keeping of this type is incomplete and inconsistent. So this will standardize everything, and it will make it easier for people to follow the food back.
Something Elliot is looking forward to.
If it could prevent future cases of food poisoning, that's a win-win for everybody.
The new rule goes into effect on January 20th, 2026.
Tonight, local school officials are pondering a possible snow day for Wednesday. Thanks to COVID and the advent of remote learning, some districts opt for virtual instruction during inclement weather. But a majority still rely on the classic snow day, something one local superintendent holds as a valued tradition.
I think there's a lot of pressure on kids these days and on families in general, so a snow day provides an unexpected opportunity to stay at home and have some fun with your family.
Safety for bus drivers and, of course, high school age drivers, that's also taken into account. No schools have made a decision yet, of course, for Wednesday. When those closings do come in, we'll have the most up-to-date list on KSDK.com. Now they just use their phone. Remember, your kids would have to sit there for 45 minutes?
Right.
And if they had an M school, you'd
Right.
have to wait for a ticker to come across.
Right, and you'd watch it on TV on 5 on Your Side. And we'll still have those school closings.
We still will.
Yeah, and Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell is tracking that snow.
It was a day when you were sitting by the AM radio, remember?
Oh,
that,
yeah,
you know?
that's right.
Before
You had
we
to
started,
work for the snow day.
Yes, you sure did. Hey, let's start with the timeline on this and just kind of break it down as to what's going to go on. Tomorrow, the rest of tonight, tomorrow during the day, all is fine. You can do whatever you want to do. We don't have any weather problems until sometime tomorrow evening. Probably around 6 or 7 down towards Rolla. But then in the metro area, about 9, 10 o'clock tomorrow night, we'll see rain developing. And then towards midnight and thereafter, a changeover to snow. It will be a heavy, wet snow, and it's going to stick. We'll have that continuing in through the rush hour Wednesday morning. Temperatures will be around freezing when we get into these heavier pockets of snow, and that's going to be in the wee hours Wednesday morning through the rush hour, which will create sloppy, poor road conditions. We'll have to navigate that. But temperatures are going to go back into the mid-30s by Wednesday afternoon. The heavier snow shifts off to the east of St. Louis and away from us, and we should see some improvement in the road conditions. Winter storm warning pretty much for all of the area, with the exception to our north and west. Think we'll add Mount Vernon and Flora into that for tomorrow. The forecast accumulations, the heaviest band of snow is going to be to the south of St. Louis. And we really think the heaviest snow totals are going to end up over the Ozarks, with some spots getting 6 to 8 inches. But in the metro, most of us are probably going to get 3 or 4 inches, and maybe a little more on the east and south sides of the metro. Right now, it's just the high clouds rolling in. Our storm system getting its act together, the snow and rain starting to pick up here across New Mexico and into Texas. This is a very favorable storm track for us to get winter weather. Over 1,500 miles worth of winter storm alerts all the way from Arizona to Cleveland in Ohio. All right, here we are tomorrow evening. Watching that rain come into St. Louis, then the change over to snow. This darker shading of blue, south and southeast of St. Louis, that's where your heaviest snow is going to be, taking us into Wednesday morning. Pay attention to the temperatures here. We're zoomed in tighter, still close to 40 around 8, 9 o'clock tomorrow night, then down into the mid-30s, right around freezing here in the wee hours. Darker blues, east and southeast of St. Louis. That's where the heavier snow band is. As this pushes east, the impacts will lessen by lunchtime on Wednesday. And again, winter storm warning, final accumulations from most of the metro, probably about 3 or 4 inches or so. Definitely a storm alert Wednesday. Biggest impacts will be during the morning commute. We're not going to be stuck at home for days on end. We're back above freezing Thursday with mainly cloudy skies, and back into the 40s Friday and Saturday. So it's really Wednesday morning when we're going to have the issues. And it's a great snowball and snowman making snow.
We need one of those. We
Yes,
haven't had
we
one
do.
all winter. Scott, thank you. Frank, what's coming up?
Well, Ann, I have a jump shooter who can't miss. The Blues are facing a player who can't be stopped, and the Cardinals have hired a new announcer. Stick around, please.
The Sports Desk is brought to you by Jim Butler Chevrolet, the Midwest's #1 Chevy dealer, 10 years running.
I will not second guess a trade that produced the best sports story in my lifetime, the Blues winning the Stanley Cup. But you see this guy behind me? This is 6'6", 25-year-old Tage Thompson. He's the guy the Blues traded to get Ryan O'Reilly. He has 32 goals this season. Only 2 in the league have more. He will be in town tomorrow to face the Note. Just saying. So the Note have to figure out a way to stop Thompson and the Sabres, who come in with an identical 49 points. Craig Berube could be welcoming back Vladimir Tarasenko and Torrey Krug to the lineup. Now, the Blues are under 500 at home and have been behind the 8 ball basically all season long.
You look back an 8-game losing streak, that's tough. It's hard. You know, that's a tough recovery, from. But I think, what are we, 11-6-3 in our last 19? That's not a bad record. Now at home here, I wish, we should have 2 more wins here at home. That would make a big difference. But listen, we're focused on tomorrow's game. That's the one we got to win.
The Cardinals have decided on Chip Caray as their new television broadcaster. Caray, the grandson of the Hall of Famer Harry Caray, has been doing Braves games for the last 14 years. Don't hold it against him. He did the Cubs for 7. He's a great guy. The 57-year-old is a graduate of Parkway West High School. So Chip is changing teams, and the guy behind me did also earlier in the football season. He is Christian McCaffrey, one of the most unique talents in the NFL, and he could be the reason why the 49ers win the Super Bowl. He did score the game-winning touchdown for San Francisco yesterday in their 19-12 win over Dallas. His versatility is amazing. He can throw the football, he really can, and he rushed for 1,100 yards. He caught 85 balls. In fact, the architect of the greatest show on turf says McCaffrey has some Marshall Faulk in him.
McCaffrey has got an acumen in football. It's incredible. He has the same speed and acceleration that Marshall has. Nobody's Marshall, but he's close to him. I mean, he sees everything. There were times when we had a quarterback in there, a fourth quarterback, and he called the plays because the quarterback couldn't get it out of his mouth.
The Umsel Tridents are having an incredible season. They're 16-3, 16th in the country. And I want you to check out this young man, Bowen Sandquist. This is not trick video. I turned on my camera and he didn't miss. He's the 2nd leading 3-point shooter in the country. Look at him. Miss, please. The 5th-year senior has almost 1,700 career points. He's a great student. He wants to go to med school. So I asked him, med school or the national title? You choose, Bo.
Oh, gosh. Win the national championship, because I can always apply for medical school next year, but this is my one shot in my basketball career to get to the national championship. So for 100% national championship.
I'll tell you what, he knows what his craft is. That's the other thing. He knows what he can do. He doesn't try to do anything else. Like if you look at how many twos he's attempted, it's not very many. So he's not trying to get into that effort.
You don't have to wait until Friday to get the best prep coverage in town. We covered all week, and tonight our focus is on Vashon. They have 3 sophomores who've already been offered scholarships by Mizzou. 3 on 1 team. Tonight they're at Soldan. Coach Tony Irons has the Wolverines playing the toughest schedule in the country. Here's one of those special players. He just says, get it out of here. Then there's number 1, Trey Williams. That was Nicholas Randall on the block. Trey Williams on the 3. And then number 0, De'Aaron Hill Jr., offered in football and basketball by Mizzou, gets the layup. Vashon wins it 84-43. What a basketball program they are.
Indeed. All right, Frank, thanks very much. And don't forget, it's the most inspiring night in sports, the Musi Awards, filled with heartwarming stories of individuals using the power of sports for good. And you can watch it Saturday night at 7 right here on 5 on Your Side.
Coming up, these buds are for your sweetheart. How the King of Beers is helping you pour your heart out.
Anheuser-Busch is giving Natural Light a retro makeover. Cans of Natty Light will soon resemble the original design from the 70s. This is part of AB's campaign to mature the identity of the beer, which is popular amongst the college crowd.
And Budweiser's teaming up with Urban Stems for a special Valentine's Day bundle. It includes a dozen roses in a glass Budweiser pitcher and a $15 voucher for Budweiser on Instacart. The bundle costs $95 on Urban Stems website.
And Scott has a final check of the snowy forecast.
Yes, and it is going to get snowy, but not until after this time tomorrow night. So during the day tomorrow, you're fine. Here are your snow accumulations overnight tomorrow night into Wednesday morning. Heaviest snow likely to be south and east of St. Louis, where more than 4 inches will fall. Most of the metro area is probably going to fall into that 3 to 5 inch category, or maybe 3 or 4 inches. Heavy wet snow, slushy go early on Wednesday, then things will improve. So you really have about a 6 to 10 hour impact window, and it impacts us for the Wednesday morning rush hour.
And there you have it. 5 on your side at 10. The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon is next.
Jimmy's guest tonight, Aaron Judge and Josh Duhamel. Start your day with Today in St. Louis beginning at 4 a.m. and have a great tomorrow.